So who are you?
My name's Chris Foreman. I'm with AvePoint. I'm a Senior Vice President of Sales over there, and out here this week at the Salesforce Dreamforce show.
Yeah,
So.
I wanted to talk to you because there's a lot of changes in the Salesforce, or not Salesforce, SharePoint world.
Right.
Microsoft just announced SharePoint 2010, right? And you told me they're forcing people to move over to 64-bit hardware, and I just wanted you run one of the biggest companies in the SharePoint ecosystem, so you got a good viewpoint. I'd like to hear it.
Yeah, well, it's pretty interesting for our customers. The move from the SharePoint 2003 to the 2007 or MOS shift was a pretty big shift for folks. We assisted several hundred companies with that migration with our 2003-2007 migrator tool. With the release of an announcement of SharePoint 2010 to be coming out middle of next year, I believe that shift will be easier from kind of a management organizational perspective, but from a technical perspective, people are going to have a little bit more issues because you have to, all your hardware is going to have to be on 64-bit hardware. So today you can either have 32 or 64 with 2007, but the shift to 2010 will be a little bit more difficult. So some people just will have to plan earlier for that, I suppose. But from an organizational perspective, I think that people will really be able to enjoy the enhanced benefits and user functionality in that 2010 product.
Give me a taste of what's coming in the.
Just look and feel it's much more improved. They're incorporating, the Microsoft is incorporating what you saw, probably a ribbon functionality, and then the new Office products are incorporating that into SharePoint as well. Better Office integration, more online access of Office tools. So for the end user experience, it was integrated well with Office to begin with in 2007, but it's going to be even more so, I think, with 2010. And our company is positioning to be able to support that because we've been the infrastructure player for SharePoint now since 2001. We offer backup and recovery tools, migration to SharePoint compliance, archiving, storage optimization products that were all released for 2003 and then 2007 SharePoint, and then we plan to release again for 2010. With SharePoint growing as it does and proliferating in data, and a lot of that data now getting old, a lot of SharePoint data is going to be upwards of almost a decade old by the time 2010 is released. Yeah. You have this kind of glut. You get some old data. You want to become smarter about how you manage your data in SharePoint. So we offer tools to be able to archive data.
Yeah.
Be able to extend that SharePoint data out of a database, possibly to a file system somewhere, so leverage some lower cost tiers of storage. And we have a partnership with Rackspace that is really allowing people to extend that data even more. So not only extending that data from SharePoint to a file system that might be within their own data center, but to the Rackspace cloud. So Rackspace Cloud Files has opened up an API, and AvePoint has written to that API, so that an administrator can go in and set up an archive file or an archive plan to run and to take data out of SharePoint and store it to the Rackspace cloud, but still have that data accessible by the end user.
Yeah.
And still
What's the biggest data store you've seen out there?
There've been a lot. I mean,
are they terabytes, petabytes, or just gigabytes?
Yeah, for a while, you're probably familiar with Chevron being Northern California up here was one of the they got a lot of popularity within mainstream media is that they were planning on a move to SharePoint that was going to range in 9 petabytes range. Wow. So that was over the course of several years, and then there are a lot of companies out there that I would say are in the over a terabyte range, looking for over the course of the next 5 years, so 100 terabytes that are going to be added in. So SQL as a product, Microsoft SQL, has grown up a lot in the past 10, 15 years, but also people want to leverage other data stores as well, and have some interoperability between SQL and also file systems and what have you. So our tool allows you to do that, and then the integration with Rackspace really allows it.
What are you seeing happen in the data center? I mean, when we go and see startups, we know everybody's on the cloud, whether it's Amazon or Rackspace. Are you seeing the same thing happen in enterprises? Are they moving from their own data center and thinking about changing how they store their data in SharePoint?
Yeah, well, I think that the growth of the cloud, or leveraging the cloud for either managing servers or managing content, storing content, is growing a lot like SharePoint did in its early stages, where it was first departmental. It was kind of one guy's idea to put SharePoint on a box under his desk and manage it there, and then people started to kind of get interested in it. At first, it was kind of, what is this new tool? But now they started to embrace it, and they leverage it for storing data. It was very accessible on the web. I think that the cloud or usage of the cloud for these purposes is kind of starting in that same fashion, getting a groundswell, getting some sort of a grassroots attraction. Then people are going to start accepting it. People, I think, you have the CIOs talking about it at a very high level. CIOs of a lot of major corporations put it on their objectives or initiatives for 2010, 2011 pipeline. But where you're really going to find that it being leveraged is kind of in the internal core of the departments, business units where.
Well, do you think there's going to be a shove because you have to move your hardware to 64-bit now? Do you think that's going to force people to say, well, should I buy another rack of equipment, or should I outsource that and put it?
It could be. I think it's an excellent opportunity for companies like Rackspace and other hosting companies that are out there that have a SharePoint hosted SharePoint offering that they offer that on dedicated servers. When people have to make the decision, am I going to completely replace everything in-house from 32 to 64-bit, or am I going to consider other options, not only for the storage of my data, but just for running my servers, for my support, and what have you? It's a great position for a company like Rackspace to be in, I think. So, we're also partnering with the SharePoint team within Rackspace to be able to use our products within their hosted SharePoint environment. Yeah. So that's also very exciting things for us as well. So
what does that mean for you and your customers? Why do you need to partner? What are you going to do with them?
Well, a lot of times you find some people maybe they won't completely be ready to jump into that total hosted environment to begin with. With some of the enterprise clients say, okay, I have 5 or 6 major data centers around the world. Or I'm consolidating data centers, or I'm expanding data centers, and maybe they want to have some of their data stored on premise and their servers running on premise, and some of it they want to store with a hosting provider. So if we can establish partnerships with those hosting providers, then when our customers want to extend to those environments, we can offer that partnership to them and say, we're already working with them. They know our products. We can install in their environments, and the customer can continue to run really without any red tape from us or from that hosting provider. Cool. We have certain solutions where there are hosting providers that are very protective of what goes with it in their environments because their name is on the line. They have to be very concerned with what's there. Fortunately enough, there are some people out there who are willing to let us prove our worth, and that we're not going to blow up environments. We're actually going to help to protect them more and allow us to install within those environments.
Very cool. What kinds of companies do you work with? Do you work with everything from a one-person shop all the way?
Well, we do.
SharePoint usually is probably 50 people or more, right?
Right. Well, it's mom and pop shops up into the largest enterprises in the world, to the largest federal governments in the world, including our own. Federal government is our largest client across the board. So. We have a federal office that's based in McLean, Virginia, that services that industry, and both the federal civilian, which is a lot happening within cloud computing. I'm sure you heard or seen or spoken with Vivek Kundra, who talks about
he was just on stage an hour ago at the PDC.
Right, I heard about that. Yeah, I saw that.
It's funny he pulled out his iPhone. I'm sure Steve Ballmer's like,
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, but and also I just saw today he's hosting a cloud shootout in Washington, D.C. for the federal government that is including companies like Salesforce and Microsoft and Google and the such. So to be able to come and speak at that. And they recently released the apps.gov website that will allow companies that are more cloud-based to be able to sell through the GSA to federal government. So there's a lot happening within the federal government with regards to cloud computing and even Microsoft SharePoint as well.
Your firm's pretty big. It's 500 people now.
Yeah, we have 500 people now. The majority of those folks are in development. We believe we have the largest SharePoint focus.
Give people a comparison. Twitter's 75 people,
right? Well, yeah, and they've been growing a lot, and they obviously have to support pretty large infrastructure. So those guys, I'm sure, work extremely hard. But with the size of our development arm, which is getting in the range of about 350, 400 people, it's the majority of our company are in development. We're able to produce products very quickly, and it's something that I've been very happy finding it within our company today is the ability to bring products to market very quickly.
Are you all on Microsoft using Visual Studio and C Sharp and that kind of thing?
It's a mix between what different development languages that go into what we make. We have some pieces that are built on .NET. We try to leverage Silverlight because we embed some of our products within SharePoint today. So we try to do that leveraging the Microsoft tools that are available. And certainly that you have to do that in order to integrate within that infrastructure. But also getting on site, you also have clients that have just a huge ecosystem of different tools and products and languages that they work with. So.
For a CIO, if they come to you and say, I want to move to the SharePoint 2010, what do you do for them, and what kind of advice would you give them? Let's say they're a 2,000 person firm. We'll leave the Procter and Gambles and the Chevrons for some other time, but
well, we can talk to them too.
Yeah,
P&G has been a customer of ours for about 5 years.
Yeah.
So we will have those conversations with those companies. But regardless of what you're doing, I think you need to.
What would your advice be that's different from like the 2003 version, or is there something that you're going to say, hey, you should think about this?
Thinking would be a good start, and actually, planning out what they want to do and how they're going to do it. You found a lot of the people with SharePoint, it's just you set up a site, people just go after it. There's no governance over that. So that's a big part of, I think, with 2010 is establishing better governance rules about what goes in, how long it stays in, how do we get it out, integrate it with other legacy systems that are out there, make it more of a mission critical. That presentation layers, people hit that, but they can access content that's sitting anywhere within the organization. Making it more of an established, enterprise-wide application rather than just the file system or glorified document library that has been in the past.
Yeah, so. Even when I worked at Microsoft, that's where we stored all our PowerPoints.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Who has the PowerPoint? Go to SharePoint.
Yeah. Right, and it's there, and it's probably stored in 5 different places. So I think that. Being able to assist customers with planning that deployment, planning that move to SharePoint 2010, because we will also have a migration tool to move people from the MOS product today to 2010, or even from previous versions of SharePoint 2003 up to 2010. Just jump over that MOS into the new license. So we'll be able to help people plan with that, and we leverage a partner network of about 250 partners globally that offer services, including Microsoft consulting services to end customers in helping to plan that.
What kind of adoption are you expecting, or have you done surveys of your customers, or gotten any sense of the percentage of people that are companies that are going to move to 2010?
Yeah, well, we will be doing that more probably with the end of the year. Right now, we've just been heads down trying to produce product for 2010 because the beta was released earlier this year. We wanted to be able to show that we can build products on the 2010 platform. So we actually displayed some of our products. We have geo-replication tools to move data around the world. Displayed those at the SharePoint conference. Then, once we have that technology straight, then we'll run out to the customers because, given the growth of SharePoint to now, it's pretty much guaranteed that most, if not all, folks will move there eventually. Very few people do I actually find that have, 2 previous versions of SharePoint, 2001. Still in-house. Very few people do we find actually have 2003 still in-house. So they're keeping up with moving to those later versions of SharePoint. Really, a large move that we found is moving off of these other large enterprise content management platforms like OpenText, LiveLink, or Documentum, eRoom, Oracle Stellent. A lot of these other companies, these companies are running all these other products in-house. They find that SharePoint becomes that tool that they like to use down the road. It's their 5-year plan to use that. So start to kind of migrate off of that and start to adopt SharePoint even more for that functionality that those products were offering.
Very cool. One last question. The Rackspace partnership, is that just for backing up, or is there some functionality you would gain by putting your files in the cloud like that?
Well, no, it's our product several of our products can write content to a file system. So it could be backup to the cloud, it could be archiving to the cloud. We have compliance tools that keep audits that can write to the cloud. So part of that is just offloading storage, but also once you get that data into the cloud, and Rackspace has a CDN network, so they can broadcast things globally to have that publicly globally accessible once it's in the cloud. So customers can leverage that. If they're storing a public website to with Rackspace, and they're putting that out to the public, and they're storing the files or the content within the cloud files using our tool, assuming that website's running on SharePoint, they can broadcast those back-end files to the world, and so it will.
So you get good performance all
exactly.
over the
world. Yeah. It drastically improves that performance. So we have some potential clients that you go to a website and they have a large file sitting on that website, flash file, what have you. If that's just stored in one location around the world, it'll slow down if it's being accessed from far away places. So if you can store that within the Cloud Files environment and be able to broadcast it on the CDN, it'd be much more accessible, much more fast.
Very cool. So, where do we find your information about your company?
Well, our website's AvePoint.com. It's AVE, abbreviation for Avenue, point.com. And for our Rackspace partnership, we're actually on the Rackspace Cloud Files partner page as well. We can be found there. Or also, if for our existing customers, that want to leverage the cloud, if they can go into our interface today once they upgrade to our latest product and just see the Rackspace Cloud as a potential target.
Very cool.
Once they click on that, they'll be redirected to a landing page at Rackspace so they can sign up for their Cloud Files account and start storing data right there.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much.